All right, let's go over the problems from the second test. They're all listed on the left and on the right of the calculations. Suppose 9 painters can paint 13 houses in 11 weeks. What that means is in 9 times 11, which is 99 painter weeks, you get 13 houses. And we're assuming that the number of houses painted is directly proportional to the number of painters times the time. So 9 times 11, of course, is 99, which you could put here if you wanted to. And problem one, how many houses can 25 painters paint in 42 weeks? So 25 workers in 42 weeks. You multiply the workers times the time, and that's worker time. 25 times 42. And how many, that's X, how many houses can they paint? And this has to be the same answer as the answer to the question, what's 9 times 11 divided by 13? So there's your proportion. You cross multiply 9 times 11 times X. I like to find X and his partner equals 13 times 25 times 42. Take out your handy dandy calculator, and you can work this in more than one way. The way I kind of like to do it is just to say 13 times 25 times 42. You can say equals if you want to, but I'm going to divide that by 99. Or and 9 and 11 aren't bad. 9 times 11 is 99. That's pretty easy. You can divide it by 9 and then divide it by 11, and you wind up with 137.8787. And so that we're supposed to round to two places, so that would be 88, because the 8 in the third place is big enough to bump this up to the 7 up to an 8. All right, number two. How many painters are needed to paint 100 houses in 26 weeks? So again, worker times time, painter weeks is X painters times 26 weeks. So 26X is to 11, as we always go back to the original 9 times 11 divided by 13. Every one of these first four problems. All right, so we take out a calculator. We do 100 times 9 times 11 divided by 13 divided by 26. Hopefully you can verify that's 29.29. Number three, how long? Okay, that's time. 50 painters, that's workers. So workers times time divided by work is 50 times 50 painters times X weeks over 250 must equal, once more, 9 times 11 divided by 13. Again, we cross multiply, we get 13 times 50x equals 250 times 9 times 11. And you can multiply these three numbers together in any order you like with your calculator. Then again, divide by 13 times 50. But if you don't put that in parentheses, it's easier to just divide it by 13 and divide it by 50. See if you can get 38.08. Number four, how many painters are needed to paint 250 houses in 48 weeks? Okay, painter weeks is 48 times X over 250 equals, again, 9 times 11 over 13. So 13 times 48. And again, I could do 250 times 9 times 11, put it in memory, for example. That's actually what I shouldn't have done. I should have put 13 times 48 in memory. So let me do that. Let's put the denominator in memory, 13 times 48. 13 times 48, put it in memory. Well, that's not right either. I need to multiply it first and then put it in memory. Then I say 250 times 9 times 11, 250 times 9 times 11, divided by what was in memory, and I get 39.66. And by the way, you don't have to use memory. If you have a scientific calculator, you can put 13 times 48 in parentheses. So that would be not this calculator, but you can do it. Or you can simply write down 250 times 9 times 11, whatever that is, and then 1348, whatever that is, and then do the one divided by the other. It requires pencil and paper, which is fine. Okay, pool table costs that much. including tax. So this number, 10,000 plus, is some other number times 0.075 added to that other number. You cannot figure this out by taking 7.5% of the number that has the tax included. So you have to realize that $10,255.50 is some number plus 7.5% of that number, which is the same thing as 107.5%. As a decimal, that's 1.075. So the total price is 107.5%. So you divide the total price by 1.075 and you get 9,540. Number 6, she wants to deposit enough money at 3% interest to have $1,500 in savings. What you do not do is multiply 1,500 times 0.03. That is not how much she's going to deposit. What she's going to deposit is unknown, but whatever it is, when you take 3% of it and add it to it, you got to get 1,500. It is exactly the same sort of problem, believe it or not, as number 5. When the tax is included, well, number 6, the 1,500 includes the interest. So some unknown number increased by 3% of that unknown number is 1,500. Well, guess what? That's 103% of the unknown number, which is 1.03. That's why we have to take 1,500 and divide it by 1.03. And when we do that, we get 1.0. Don't forget to look at every single number before you hit the next one. 14.56 and 31 cents. It says round to the nearest dollar. And if you don't do that, which some do not do on the test, then you're going to lose some points. It's 2 questions. 1, work the problem, and 2, round to the nearest dollar. Sometimes if it's money and I don't say round it to anything, then you always round it to the nearest penny, such as number 7. The donuts are $6.95, and that includes the tax. So do not multiply 695 times the tax rate, which is 0.078, because the tax is based upon the number that we don't know yet. So 695 is equal to some other number increased by 7.8% of that other number. That means 695 is 107.8% of a number, which as a decimal is 1.078. So if you divide $6.95 by 1.078 and look at it, you get 6.447. And the 7, guess what, is big enough to bump that up to $6.45. And then all you have to do is subtract that from the 695 total cost in order to get the tax. Or you could multiply it by 0.078. That'll work too. Round it to the nearest penny. Number 8, what should the selling price be in order for the seller to have $180,000 left after paying the realtor 7% of the selling price? Notice that is not 7% of 180,000. It's 7% of the unknown selling price. So if 7% of the selling price, 7% times the selling price goes away to a commission, then what's left is 180,000 in dollars, but that represents the other 93% of the selling price. So the selling price times 0.93 has got to be 180,000. So we got to divide that by 0.93, and we get 193,548.387. You can verify that, and that rounds to 39 cents. Why did I not round it to the nearest dollar? Because it doesn't say so. And if it doesn't say so, guess what? It's money. Round it to the nearest penny unless it says to do something else. Okay, number 9. $15,975.60 is the out the door price for this truck. There's $630 in fees and 8% sales tax on the actual cost. And the actual cost was 10% less than the sticker price. Lots of information in there. We've worked this problem a good number of times. First thing you got to do is subtract the untaxed fees. $15,975.60 minus $630. $15,975 and 60 cents. Subtract $630. Look at it. Whoops. My bad. clear everything here. 15,975 and 60 cents minus 630 equals that. Got to hit equals, because otherwise, if it does order of operations, it might do 630 divided by something. So we got to divide that by 1.08. Look at every number. And oh my goodness, if you wanted to, you could round that off to 14,208.89 because the 8 is big enough. Or you could simply just divide it right away. This is, if you get within a penny, that's fine. Divide it by 0.9. And you get 15,787 and 65 cents. Ta-da! All right, number 10, believe it or not, is just like number 8. In this case, you have some money that you're going to withdraw. And number 8, you had some money you wanted left over after 7% of the selling price goes to for a commission. So in this case, number 10, 27% of the amount withdrawn is not 27% of 6,400. 6,400 is the other 73% because 100% minus 27% is 23%. That means the amount you withdraw times 0.73 must be 6,400. So I divide 6,400 by 0.73 and I get that. And I round it to 87.67 because why? It says round to the nearest dollar. And if it says round to the nearest dollar and you don't do it, you will lose points. Yikes. Hold on. And for the last problem, I call your attention again to page 6, problem 11. We've done so many of these problems and folks are still not up to par on how to do that. You add up how many A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's. Got to get that right. If you miss that, you're going to miss the whole thing. So now you take each of these 5 grades and divide them by the total number of students. It says round to the nearest 0.1%. And that has been tricky for people. What that means is after you change it to some people are just putting 0.2 for this, for the answer. No, that's rounded to the nearest 10th, to the nearest 0.1. Some people put 0.2 for that and 0.5 for that and 0.1 for that and 0 for that. No, you change it to a decimal first. That means you're going to be moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. Oh, the nearest 0.1% is where the 9 is, the first digit to the right of the decimal point, and the digit to the right of that is 1. It's not big enough to bump it up to well, it wouldn't go from 18.9, it would go to 19.0 because you can't put a number bigger than 9 there, but the 1's not big enough to do that. Likewise, the other ones. Please look at page 6. It's got this all worked out, the same requirements about rounding to the nearest 0.1%.